And so in this first part, we will tackle the chakra evaluation of the psychosomatic personality model, because we have to understand this in parts. Everything jumbled up will not make any sense. So I will talk about these parts and how the energy flows and how one thing affects with another, give you a brief introduction. So follow this presentation, okay? Hello everybody. So in this diagram now, I'm going to be explaining the psychosomatic personality model from two perspectives: the chakra model plus the astrology model, and how things could tie into one another, which we can use in our personality evaluation procedure. That's how this topic of psychosomatic came into picture. Psycho or psyche basically means the mind. Soma or somatic means the body. Now it's a very well established science, and you can Google this and research it. We all know by now, even mainstream psychology and science knows now, that mind affects the body and body affects the mind. But we are going a lot deeper than that and putting things together. We are putting with how the chakras operate and how astrology ties into this chakra model. When I speak of astrology, I'm speaking of strictly of Vedic astrology. Okay, so let's go one by one. And for the purposes of the psychosomatic personality evaluation, I'm just considering 4 chakras as is shown in this human being diagram. Okay, that's all. Let's keep it simplistic for now, because this is what will be closely tying into the personality evaluation that I carry out as a part of psychosomatic evaluation. There are a lot more chakras, of course, and a lot more ways you can analyze this and go deeper, even more deeper into the subject matter. But for the purposes of the personality evaluation that I do, I will consider only these 4 basic core points of how we can regulate, how we can understand, become aware, and hopefully make a better sense of our life and carry it forward as understanding personality. Personality comes from the Greek word persona, which means face or a mask. Well, we are not wearing really masks, we are energetic beings, and this is all energetically tied with 2 very deep sciences of the chakra or the tantric system of the Vedic tradition and the Vedic astrology tradition. And we can tie this in together, and that's the attempt here. How do these things come together? How does astrological understanding of my ascendants, my nakshatras, my stars, where they are placed in the birth chart, etc., etc., and how does my chakra function in the physical body, and how does it affect my personality? Why this is important? Well, like I said, mind affects the body and body affects the mind. We know this. So this will even go into the physical organs. This will go into the physical aspects, and how your personality and everything as you're born in astrology will dictate how the energy flows between your chakra systems, as well as how life energy circulates inside you, what makes you, you, which even dictates what kind of health issues you might have or what kind of propensities you might have. And it goes on and on. It can go into a very deep layer also. But here in this one, I'm just covering the basics. So first I'll start with the chakra model and what each one stands as. It stands for many things, but I'll just cover for the purposes of this discussion, I will just cover the essential concept of each chakra. So let's start with the basic one, the yellow dot at the bottom most, the root chakra. Now the root chakra stands for security, safety, and nurturing. I just want you to understand and keep this for now. If you want to take screenshots, take screenshots. It's okay. This is a free material. So it stands for safety, security, and nurturing. Okay. Next comes the red dot, which is the navel chakra, or the one around your navel, the belly button, that chakra. That stands for identity, a sense of ego, belonging. Okay? These three things. Identity, sense of ego. Your ego center belongs in the navel center, the knowing. Okay. Now we'll go to the green center, which is in the middle of your chest, just below the breastbone. Just below the breastbone, that slight soft spot. That's the heart center. So the heart center has the attributes of empathy, receiving, and connection. Okay, empathy, receiving, and connection. Now the third eye, or the blue dot, which is between your eyebrows, right? I put it as a blue dot over there. That center is actually right bang in the middle of your forehead, between the eyebrows, and where the bridge of the nose meets the eyebrows. That spot we are calling the third eye. It carries the functions of bringing you awareness, clarity, and intuition. So let's go through all of this from top to bottom. Awareness, clarity, intuition, empathy, receiving, and connection. When I say connection, we can of course interpret it in multiple ways. Connection, heart-centered connection, emotional connection, everything is here in this green dot. And it's physically located in the body, even in the spine. These are all spine centers. And of course, awareness and clarity comes into the brain. So the red dot, identity, sense of ego, belonging. The yellow dot, the first one at the root, it goes in the space between our genitals and the anus. That spot stands for security, safety, and nurturing. Now, speaking from a psychosomatic personality model point of view, if I were to tell you that I evaluate personality model based on all of these being integrated, just imagine the benefits there. Just imagine if your life was sorted out just in your understanding in all these contexts, on all these points listed here on the screen right now. That in itself is huge, huge for you. Increasing your awareness, increasing clarity, increasing intuition, increasing empathy, increasing your receiving, increasing your heart-centered connectivity to everything. I'm not qualifying it with one thing or another. It's everything. You versus the whole world. The red dot, if you are having increased sense of your identity, increased sense of ego, there's nothing wrong with it. Increased sense of belonging. If your ego is balanced with belonging, trust me, you will function very well. You will function as a very good ego, because ego gets a bad rap because it doesn't have a connectivity. Remember the green dot, connection, connectivity with all things. If you have that, a higher connectivity, your sense of ego and identity will be powerful. It will have a sense of belonging. And therefore, if you have security, increased sense of security, increased sense of safety, feeling safe, safe in your body, safe in the earth, safe in the environment, safe in your life, safe with the people you are. And if you're feeling increased nurturing. Now, nurturing is the word I use because nurturing is all of the things which we look for as the good things in life combined. It may be love, it may be compassion, it may be sense of physical nurturing, emotional nurturing, mental connection with people and things. All of these come from that yellow dot over there. So in our psychosomatic personality model, I will cover all of this. You can expect increase of all of this, and each one of these chakras, understand they have a feedback mechanism. One talks to the other right from top going through to the bottom, and from the bottom coming to the top. And this is how it looks like. The downward movement goes like this. And I put it like this because in the esoteric text it is shown as a spiral movement. A spiral, a downward spiral and an upward spiral. This is the downward spiral. Think of it as a spiraling life force energy. This downward spiraling life force energy, how it shows up practically? Well, if you have increased awareness, clarity and intuition, it feeds into having increased empathy, receiving and connection, heart-centered connection, which in turn feeds into increased identity, sense of ego and belonging, which feeds into increased sense of security, safety and nurturing. See how the increase feeds into one another? Now there is an upward movement also to this, and I will say it in a negative context, bear with me. If you have low sense of security, low sense of safety in the world, you're not being really nurtured by anything, that will feed into your low sense of self-worth, low sense of identity, low sense of belonging in the world. See, follow the upward arrows here. That in turn will feed into you disconnecting from the world. You're having low empathy. You're having low receiving. You're not getting any abundance in life in any form. Abundance, I'm not talking about just wealth here. It may be a sense of receiving love. It may be a sense of receiving compassion, receiving people, receiving good things happen in your life. The connection will seem to wane and disappear if this negative wave travels upward in an upward spiral. So if you have low on the green count, and as you go forward upward even more, you'll have low awareness. People cut off their awareness. They don't want to be aware. They think the world is a dark place. They don't want to have clarity. They have very less clarity and spend all their time in confusion. Then they are very low on intuition. It's also as a result of this. So you see how this upward spiral can be a spiral of negativity or positivity. I have just shown you the negative part on the upward and the positive on the downward. But it's a complex mechanism, and this life energy as it is flowing is constantly feeding one another in a cycle. This is the process as told in tantric tradition. It keeps a human being in a dynamic state of balance. In physics, this is called dynamic balance. Like every oscillation, and this is an oscillation from the top to the bottom, these energetic centers are in a constant state of dynamic calibration, meaning there is at the same time it is going upward, it is going downward also. It's like a pulsating energy going from up to down, down to up. This is the psychosomatic model which has been discovered by the modern science in some ways. For example, they have discovered that a depressed mind will lead to depressed body functioning, lower immune system, etc., etc. But having positive thoughts, having positive emotions, the blue and green centers, having positive thoughts and emotions, because thoughts are feeding emotions and emotions are feeding thought. You see that white circle arrow coming down and white arrow going up? See, each one is feeding one another, trickling from top down. It's like a waterfall. You can think of energy coming like waterfall and like an upward draft of air moving up as the winds move from ground to the upward in the sky. Upper atmosphere is the upward travel. So it's like the water and air, so to speak. So it travels constantly, not one after the other, not one before the other, both of them simultaneously. So it's a pulsating energy which is constantly in motion, and it has only one objective: to keep you in balance. Means whatever is being shown in one of these dots is being reflected to all of them. It cascades to all of them. Let's say you have a very high sense of empathy. I'll just give you one example here because you can stretch it to any of the work that you are doing also. Let's say you have a very high sense of empathy. So the green dot is glowing really high. That feeds into the upper one and the lower one, as you can see. So you may have increased awareness and increased sense of belonging, increased sense of identity. And that increased awareness, identity in turn will trickle down to other two centers. to the red dot, and to the yellow dot. It will come right up to your sense of safety and security and nurturing. You may feel more nurtured as a result of having empathy. Your sense of empathy itself is nurturing you, for example. Okay? So I think I'm kind of shooting up on time, so I will capture the astrology in the next model as a part 2. Take care, be safe, be awesome wherever you are.